very strict. But who was she actually? She was my direct line with the country. I wanted to learn more about her. So I started to ask my uncles and but then I give my grandmother a voice. You know, we were 10 years further in time, and I thought it's important that a woman from the country talks about her own life and about the developments in the country that she witnessed.
And why? Why a woman? Why was that important to you?
Me, well, first of all,
It went on.
First of all, she's my grandmother, so that was handy, of course. But secondly, there aren't that many stories told by women, I think, historical stories. You know, you are very used to give men the stage when it's about our history. It's even called his story, you know, and we should make it more into her story as well. So that became my mission, actually. And you were asking, how did I voice this? That was really important. I thought a long time about who would be very good to give this story a voice. And it had to be someone with a Surinamese accent, you know, and a professional person, because we would have to spend a lot of time in the studio together. And quite quickly, I thought about Denise Jenner, who was already a friend of mine, professional friend, a beautiful singer, someone with a beautiful voice, and well, she's a beautiful person. So Peter set up a conversation between us in a business-like way, and she was like, I would love to do this. And she's from a background that's very religious, so she would fit in, and my first question was, do you mind voicing also the spiritual aspects of this film, because I know she's very religious, Christian religious, and she said no problem. It's part of what our grandmothers are, it's part of our country, it's part of our heritage, stemming from Africa, and we need to acknowledge this.
Could Denise identify with the story of your grandmother, or was it very difficult for her to get to that?
No, she could easily identify, because her grandmother was a similar sort of a woman who took care of her children, was very pious, and also loved a good laugh, you know, because I intentionally didn't want to make this a film about a woman that's a victim of her time. She takes control of her life. She has her pleasures, her little fun, and yeah, Denise had a grandmother who was quite similar, a strong woman. Yeah.
And Peter, is it?
Well, it works now.
This one to you?
No, well, but let's go on. We'll see.
Hear the question? Okay, there. My voice is back. I have a voice. Peter, what was it like for you to work on this? As my assumption is that you're a Dutchman, and now you were spending a lot of your time possibly in the studio facilitating this process.
Well, yes, I'm a Dutchman, but I'm very connected to Suriname because I'm producing already for more than 35 years independent producer, and I did many films in Suriname.
Yeah.
So it was my idea to, or not my idea, but it was the idea to have a film ready, exactly what you said, Mrs. Is the ambassador. No, that in 2025, Suriname is 50 years independent. And what I like to make was a story at the end of slavery in 1863, some people say 1873, and 1975. And the story of Tessa was a very good story where you could, in one family, connect this time from 1873 to 1975. And that the film would be ready in 2025 to celebrate that. And I think it has to be celebrated. I watched the film there, and I watched it now 100 times. And to be honest, my heart is when the last word says, and Suriname is independent again. And this is something what is for Suriname, for Ghana, the first independent country in Africa, but for many countries. So that people feel independent and free and can live according to their own background and their own families. And I think this was the important message. And Tessa, I'm only a producer. I'm facilitating all things. But Tessa, she, of course, is the heart of the film. Huh? So you have to talk now with the Tessa.
But you're also here, so I have to talk to you. Before we move on, I want to ask, sorry, I will, the question is not important, the answer is important. I'm curious if your idea or your image of Suriname changed over time?
Well, the question is if my ideas about Suriname changed. What I found so interesting, if you see archive material, black and white, you think that's history and it's not me. But if you colorize the material, it becomes suddenly my story. I'm part of it. So yes, if as a person coming from Holland who was the colonializer, I see what we, not me, but we as a country did. And yes, it does bring me understanding. But I think Tessa, and again back to Tessa, we didn't want to make a sad story as if you are all victims. No, we survived and you try to be now independent and show your power. So it has to be also a happy film. Here.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Well, I'm hang on. Okay. For that response and reflection. And I'm also curious about how the collaboration was. Were there also tensions? Can we talk about that? Because otherwise it's a bit of a boring story that is just, you know, happy people, independence. Yeah. Maybe we start with you, Tessa, and then you can, maybe we can even start a fight. No, we don't have, we don't, no, we just, no, we don't. We want peace. We want peace on earth. But maybe, Tessa, you want to reflect a little bit about what it was like to work together, if there were tensions, and how you dealt with it.
Well, you know, this is a party, so let's not spoil the party. No, I'm just joking. No, Peter and I had a great understanding, actually. That's the good part. I get to the other part a little bit later. No, we started working during COVID, and we didn't saw each other for 1.5 years until COVID was over, and we didn't even made a video call. So we only called. I don't know why we didn't video call. And we had this connection. I don't know, maybe because Amsterdam is my birth town. I thought once, he lives in Amsterdam for a while, you know, you have this connection. But of course, we had to find our way into the film and align our thoughts. And one of the first things I asked the researcher, we worked with a researcher for the images, and it took also over a year to gather enough footage for the film. And one of the things I asked her in the presence of Peter, let's start with looking for images where white and black people are in it together and show me them, because there must be, in the way of their posture, you know, images don't lie. You can immediately tell who's in control, who holds the power, and who has not, you know. And then Peter said, no, let's not do that, because then it would be maybe an activist film. And that's where we had to find each other and had to trust each other, of course, because that's what was not in my mind. Of course, you are in the beginning going like this. And, well, yeah, you have to respond yourself. I think, you know, we start talking, we have a lot of discussions, and I said, no, I want to be, this must be an emotional film. I want people to, you know, get this story in their heart and not in their head, you know? I didn't want to give you all kinds of information. Being an activist, I didn't want it to be a brochure. I wanted it to be a movie that you would feel through the character what the country has been through and the people in the country. And that's where we really found each other. Yeah.
Well, it is true. I have to say, my mother is from Indonesia. And I found out in Holland, if they make a film about Suriname or Indonesia, the hero or the main character always will be the white person. Or at least it has then to be the second role. Okay, a Suriname can be the first character, but then the second character has to be a person from Western Europe countries. And I want to change that. I said, no, I don't know their lives, and I want to meet that life. So I was afraid. She triggered me some anger in myself, which she perhaps didn't know, and true, I have a kind of temperament. But I tell you why, because I want to always to make a good film. We get a lot of money from funding, and we have to achieve our best. And yes, in that sense, I look like a football coach. I wait and do, but I'm not in the field. And there's so if there is a tension, but I say immediately, we did so well, because we have the same kind of attitude to achieve. You don't have to be always friends to achieve something. And sometimes it is rough. And it is a bumpy car ride. Yeah, that's what it takes to make something beautiful and truthful and to achieve something. So yeah, that's my character. So that's not the nice part of my character.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing the not nice part of your character as well. That's very generous of you. Yeah, no, but I think that's, this tension, that's why I was asking about the tension, also because of the historical nature of the film and the desire, as a representative of the nation of the Netherlands, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and a representative of Suriname, there must be at some point a moment where you don't necessarily see eye to eye, and I think it was really great that you were able to make space for the people who have voices, but there isn't always space for their voice. So people like your grandmother, but also on a global stage, countries like Suriname, as you say, why should there always be a white hero? And it stops people from being able to tell their own story. So thank you so much for that. And have your family members seen the film?
Yes, they did. Two of my aunts who are in their 80s, they're still alive. They went to the premiere one of the screenings in Amsterdam, and they were really emotional.
Yeah.
And it's given me goosebumps talking about it. But they were really emotional because they thought we come from a poor background, and that's not something to put on display. We are not people that appear in a movie. No books are written about us. We are the people who are backstage, literally cleaning houses and doing other ones, washing and clothing. So they were really emotional about it, and they thanked me. And two nieces, they went to Peter's office, to collect the posters.
Yeah.
And it was really wonderful to do this for my family, in the memories of my grandmother.
If I can add to that, I think we cultural people tend to be in a, let's say, intellectual or cultural, we know our own bubble. Now, my brother is working in a factory for very simple work with the lowest salaries. So a lot of people, also with the roots of Suriname, work there. So I asked him to invite them all. And now I get daily, my mother says it is a great film, you have to go. Yeah. So it was a kind of a film where, let's say, mothers of the age of 60 feel the responsibility of the family stories, say to the son, once a year you go with me to this film. And it ended up that the film was Evening Suriname, not even, happily, a big success in the cinema. And Evening Holland, it was, well, yeah, the whole Suriname community went to it. And that made me very happy, not to show off other things.
Yeah, you know, the difficulty was that we have had two audiences to aim at. The audience in Suriname and the audience in the Netherlands were our main audiences, you know, and they differ a lot. So that was quite difficult, and we both wanted it to be a very accessible film, but also an intelligent film. You know, you can look at the film at different levels. So the film has traveled, well, I would not say the world, but it has been screened in a lot of countries already, and screenings that I attended, people always are touched by the film for different reasons, you know, for the personal part of the story, for the political part of the story, people who have been through a revolution themselves in their countries. So the film really relates to a very broad audience, and that's something we are very proud of.
Even the film was released in America, also in cinema in New York, and there you see the connection, of course, with the slavery history in the US. And of course they are reacting a different way, but they take the story out of it, what's theirs. And in that sense, I'm very thankful to Tessa that she made an open story where you can come in different level. Some people say, no, it is a women's film. I don't mind, but they are all human, you know, and that Tessa did wonderful.
Tessa, I actually have a question, but it's just a clarification. At the beginning of the film, they say Medeka at the independence. What does that mean?
Oh, very cleverly noted. Merdeka, it's the word, the Indonesian word. Merdeka. It means freedom. And it was the slogan they used in the independence war in Indonesia in 1954. Indonesia got independent. So that wave from Indonesia came to Suriname, of course, and the same word was used at the day of independence.
But after the war, it was used Merdeka, and very nearly in an aggressive way. We fight freedom. And but when I was for another project in Indonesia to do research, I found the house of Paramaribo in Jakarta. I said, Suriname in Jakarta, in Indonesia. And then, of course, I understood that there is this triangle, because a lot of people from Java, one of the biggest islands of Indonesia, all went to Suriname after the slavery was ended. Then the Hindu came after a 10-year contract period. Then the Javan came. And that makes Suriname a very mixed society. And some people even call it a rainbow society. So you have all different kinds of groups of people. And can I say, but you have to say, but they live quite happily together.
Yeah, we do, actually.
Yeah?
Very, yeah, that's something we are very
it's
proud
not,
of.
Not for me to say so, but it is.
Yeah, it's indeed, we try to show it a little bit in the film, but the film, of course, focuses on my family, so that's an Afro-Surinamese family. But the country consists of Hindustani people, Javanese people, Chinese people, Amerindian people, so Lebanese people, Dutch people. So I try to put a little bit in the film, but not too much, you know, it's not a lecture. But it's a community, and you know, everybody, almost everybody, besides the Amerindians, were brought to the country, and we had to find a way to live together, and that worked out very well. We're a multi-religious country. Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, we live peacefully. There is a synagogue next to a mosque in Paramaribo, which is quite exceptional. I do not know if it's anywhere else in the world it's the case. But yeah, we're very proud of that. Yeah. And the country is also very big, so we have space still. We're 600,000 people in a
Yeah.
country that's, 4 times larger than the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And quite a bit larger than Ghana as well, or about the same size?
No, I think Ghana's bigger.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're bigger.
No.
No, I was, sorry. I was also curious about migration, the role of migration in this story, because I think, as a person sitting here in Accra, you have people who were, bought or taken or stolen from places like Ghana, before the concept of Ghana even existed. They were put in places like Suriname. The idea of being put in a place is already pretty crazy. But then in the very last, let's say, chapter of the film, these people move to the Netherlands. So there's this migration, this movement the whole time. And the reason why I wanted to discuss this a little bit with you is because each time there's a cultural translation that's happening, right? So these people are taken from, let's say, the African continent. They take a certain language, currency, practice with them that we can see. I think most of us who watched the film, we saw certain movements. We're like, hey, that looks like Adowa. Oh, they said this thing. Oh, the way they move, the way they dress, the colors they wear. You can take a woman from the market in that archival material, you spoke about this yesterday, I think, and put them at Mokola Market, and you wouldn't see a difference, right? So there's something that is inside, beyond skin color, that is taken along. And then in that, it's now taken once more to the Netherlands. So how did your family deal with this cultural translation in terms of your identity, who you are or become? Do you emphasize Surinameness more because you're not at home? And what aspects of Surinameness do you emphasize? Or do you leave it, like we're now in the Netherlands, now we're going to be Dutch? How did that work for you?
Well, if I focus on what you see in the film, is that my grandmother, she moves from a small rural town to the city. So that's also a very big transformation for her. And, she comes to the knowledge that she is a low-class person, actually being a black woman without a proper family of her own. And then later in life, all her children, except one, they move to the Netherlands, and then eventually, you've seen it, she also goes. And, it's when you are in a country that's not your own, and you are disrupted, cut off from your own culture, your own language, because like the ambassador said, Dutch is spoken mainly in the film, but of course there's another language, Sranan. It must have felt very lonely, and I try to portray that with some images where you see family members walking alone in the streets, walking between these very big buildings. I think people who have lived abroad among us know that feeling, that you're lost in a big city. You do not find a connection with your own culture. And of course, people cluster together. So that's what I showed in one of the last scenes, that she felt at home at a certain group of people, who kept their own tradition alive. And it's really important that you know who you are, and back in the days, it was not allowed actually to show your own culture. Well, it was allowed, of course, but it was not appropriate to do so, when you were a Surinamese person living in the Netherlands, you adapted to the Dutch way. My grandmother did, my father did, I had to do as well. And
Because you're in a dominant culture, or because of a superiority feeling that the Dutch culture is superior?
Both. Okay. You're in the dominant culture. You are taught, if you want to have better chances in life, act like the Dutch, do as the Dutch, dress like the Dutch, believe what the Dutch do. And that has been the case for years, decades after decades. And I'm very happy that actually, quite recently, a new movement of activist people stood up in the Netherlands, to say, to criticize this.
But if I may add to it, I think it also helped very much because Tessa lives in Suriname, not in Holland. I, as a producer, of course, I have worked with more directors, and if I can read the mind and what that means on a creative process, I think I couldn't have produced the film, not made the film, produced the film with a Dutch Suriname director living in Holland, in the Netherlands. Tessa was very self-confident. And the film is made with the self-confidence and awareness of the Suriname. And it is not, no, she is there. And I think part of it, the mother, or the grandmother, she's also funny and streetwise. And she learns us with such kind of street wisdom kind of things. You know, she says, for instance, I'm old but not cold. Yeah. And this is the funny part of it, how you can express so much strong awareness to be in a country and to be, in that case, a woman.
Yes. Maybe I can talk a little bit about the archival footage, because it was all shot with a different reason, of course. Yeah. And it was.
Where did you find it before you continue? In Suriname?
We worked with partners in the Netherlands, Institution of Sound and Vision, Film Museum, but also abroad. We found archival footage in Suriname and also in the United States a bit, University of Pennsylvania. And you know, the footage was shot by white people for several reasons. Journalism, you know. They wanted to show what the country was, what it produced for the Netherlands, so propaganda. It was shot for missionary reasons. Look how we go about teaching Christianity to those savage people in Suriname. You know, and the tone of this documentary, of these documentaries, also had this racist tone quite often. So it was really difficult to make this material, turn it around from the perspective of my grandmother. And the most difficult part was looking for personal images, because, you know, people who are happy, that was not shot. People who had a baby, that was not something camera crews from the Netherlands would film. You know, happiness was not in their assignment. So we found it in the work of amateurs, you know, that's been kept and preserved.
But imagine, for people, just some technical numbers, and then Tessa can go on the... In the film are more than 1,050 different shots. They are like a mosaic. You find all these little stones, and slowly you make an image. And that's what Tessa did. She also found the images because she went through more than 150 films to take a lot of shots out and then finding. So perhaps you didn't realize in your awareness, but every time you see a woman, you think it is the main character. But there are all different women. And that's the craftsmanship Tessa did, with all those little stones. Other people can find the stones, but to make a painting or a story, that's what it is, and that's the mechanism of making, in this genre, a film.
Because before, well, you were saying something. I think it's really important that you say this and how actually complex it is to build this mosaic. And the painstaking work it must be to find all these pieces of this mosaic. And I wonder, in your process, did you start with the story of your grandmother and then find the pieces? Or did you find the pieces and then say, oh yeah, that fits my grandmother's story?
I have more experience with writing. I've published several novels, non-fiction work. So I started with writing the script, because that's something I'm really positive about. so the script was guiding the guideline, and then I started to search for images which would match a certain sentence or a certain idea I had about a scene that I've written. And of course, I had to rewrite it about 15, 16 times. But eventually, the text stayed to be the guideline of the editing process. Yeah.
But then, just because I'm so proud of what Tessa did, that's why I'm also saying it. Imagine that the first part of the film takes place in the first part of the 20th century. There was no sound at films. So every sound is also made. And then you try to find the right sound, or not a right sound, but at least a historical depth has to be in it. So you go also do the sound research, and then the music is made. And then we found out, slowly actually, if it was like that we were singing in the film was not meant from the first. But then we had Denise, who did the voice, but she's a very good jazz singer, Denise Jenner. We love her in Holland as a jazz and a gospel singer. And you have to tell the story, when she did the sound, she sometimes starts singing. And then we both thought, oh, let's have the singing in the film.
You know, Denise and I went for hours after hours into the recording studio, and sometimes, you know, we looked for a little less worthy way of expression to express something, and then she was like, I don't know, and I would say, sing it for me, you know, and then she would sing a children's song, or, so that was a really organic way of creating sound and songs in
And
the
also
film.
really special that you could work with Denise Jana, right? So, because she is in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
But did she come to Suriname for this? Or?
No, I came to the Netherlands a couple of times, and she did a lot of on her phone, you know. Then I would call her, and she is always awake. I think she never sleeps. So I could phone her all day long, and then I would say, you know, I've written a 6th, a 7th, and 8th version of the script. Could you voice text me a couple of sentences again for the editor to do a new edit? So that went back and forth.
But it were, just so that you could tell this, also it became a kind of slightly spiritual sessions.
Yeah.
So you have to know that you have the sound studio. Denise Jenner sits down there. We are in the other room because it's the studio, you know. And then she light candles. And she did a little prayer to her mother and to the grandmother. She was connecting by candles and a spiritual kind of words and rituals, making connection to the grandmother of Tessa. And once that happened, that learned me a lot. Those things learned me a lot. Not about color and other things, those things.
Beautiful. Yeah. You wanted to add something to this?
Yeah, well, you know, we both felt that it's important to ask for permission. This story is a story also about ancestors, about belief in ancestors. And to us, it was very important to ask permission to them. And I really didn't know how. Denise is slightly older than I am.
Yeah.
And yeah, she brought the candles along. She brought the spiritual aspect in it. I was very happy to. And I think it was what we needed to give this film, you know, this exceptional feeling of being slightly spiritual, emotional. When I say to people it's a documentary, then they will, after they've seen it, they will say, this is not a documentary. No. You know, I expected something else, information, a lot of information. And I said, well, it was. It was a documentary, of course, but I wanted it to be emotional, holistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe holistic is the word, I don't know.
Sorry. There's maybe for me personally a sensitive topic from the film, and that's about being mixed. So you were saying that for your grandmother, she was sort of rejected because she was mixed, so Dutch and Afro-Surinamese. I didn't completely understand that because I thought Surinamese people were always mixed. So I would like to hear a little bit about this mixedness. Here in Ghana, I was born here in Ghana and raised partially here as well as a mixed person. So I enjoyed a lot of privileges as a mixed person, but these made me very uncomfortable because I just wanted to belong. I didn't want to be, as a child, you just want to be like everybody else. I wanted to understand a little bit about this mixed identity. Are you a mixed, that's also how Suriname sees you, as mixed?
Yeah, in Suriname I'm called a moxie. Moxie is the word for mixed, but almost everybody in the country is mixed, so that's, nowadays it's not a problem. In 1905, when my grandmother was born, it was a problem for a white woman to expect a child by a black man. That was absolutely not done. And it's not in the film, but in real life, this woman, this white woman, she was the daughter of a missionary person. So that was exceptionally difficult. Being, first of all, not married, second of all, maybe that's first, having an affair with a black person is out of the question. So she had to give up this child for adoption. And as it was the case in those days, but even nowadays it happens, people take in a child as a sort of a house slave. We call it a kweekje, you know, and that child, you know, gets to do the chores nobody wants to do. Fetch water buckets, you know.
House help.
A house help,
Yeah.
a house help. And so she was raised in this family as a house help, and that was the only family she knew. But her real mother sent money for her, you know, to support her education, and letters and money kept coming in for quite some time. And at the end of the film, maybe some of you have noticed, there is a picture of a white woman. That was her real mother. So she sent my grandmother, or the foster mother of my grandmother, a picture of her to keep. And my grandmother kept it for all her life. And her daughters, my aunts, they didn't know she had a picture until the day she died. And they went into her personal stuff because nobody ever could touch it. And there was this picture with the name written at the back. And when I went to the council, how do you call it, to get her birth certificate, because I wanted to know what's on there, it was the exact same name who was written down there as her biological mother.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And did you try to find her, or we leave that for another episode?
In short, my aunts tried to locate this family. They go by the name of Cummings, so that's a British name. And the story goes, but you know, a lot of people do not want to go into those stories, so my family's a little bit closed, but they weren't accepted by the family. They said, we do not want anything to do with it, please. So it was very
rejected.
painful. They were rejected.
The Cummings family rejected them when they
Yeah,
came.
they were rejected, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's very sad, and I'm sorry that happened. I hope maybe another generation will be open to retelling of that story.
Yeah, so the strange thing is my grandmother, who is exactly the same, I also have a white mother, black father, you know, and I was born in 1967, and I didn't have these problems, you know. So it took 2 generations in order for us to be accepted as who we are. And that's, to me, very painful, you know, that she actually was born in the wrong time.
But you get to tell her story, so hopefully that, you know, in these rituals and these permissions, there's something soothing happening there. I've looked a lot in this direction. I would like to look in that direction now, a little. I don't know if there are questions in the audience. Yeah. Yeah, please go ahead. Maybe someone can help me move a mic. Thank you.
Well, once again, Tessa, congratulations. And Mr. Indonesia, gefeliciteerd. I came late. When I watched it, I saw that, hey, these are pieces of Suriname, the western part, and Paramaribo. And then you will see the Maroons jump in a little bit of the Javanese, a little bit of the marketplace, a little bit of ten. And I was like, where does she want to go? Until the end, I was like, okay. But her colleague told me it's about a woman. What I want to say in this, for Suriname, to know Suriname, you have to go there and experience Suriname for yourself. We love one another, and we call it Mamyo. That's the name. We don't say mosaic, which is English and Dutch. We say Mamyo. Then we know we pick from every part something. So then you say Mamyo. So they call Suriname a Mamyo community, which is the Sranan or the Surinamese language. When you say Mamyo, it explains it all for us. But when you say mosaic or mosaic, the normal Surinamese person will not really get you. And we will include in the languages of Ghana Mamyo, because you're Mamyo as well. What I want to say in this, Suriname is a very small populated country, but it's bigger than the biggest country. The stories are big behind Suriname, and I want to thank you. It has been done there. We would prefer to have it at the embassy next time. It will be the embassy. I'm here for Suriname and Ghana, and it's good that the Dutch embassy started it. It's okay. They should be the one that should start it long ago, but we love them for doing what they have done. Thank you, Tessa. I want to go. She has a place. She's very reserved, but she's a big woman in Suriname. I've seen what she did. She doesn't want me to say it. I followed you once. No, it comes clear to me. She has a lot more to tell. And I challenge her. I love to challenge people since I represent Suriname. Let us go forward and let us promote Suriname more together with the Netherlands, because he said it quite well. He's part of it.
Yeah, can I say
Thank
something? A very important issue. Because I want to address a very important issue. For Ghana, the archives of Ghana, the film archive of Ghana, is in the UK. The Suriname images were all in Holland. This is the same with many countries. So besides the in-depth and warm story, there was a very simple effect what sometimes is more important. When we showed the first time the film in Suriname, people said they saw for the first time Paramaribo at 1910, at 1920. They said, hey, we had the tram in Paramaribo. Hey, we had this. And I think, compare this, if you don't have photos of your family, that you don't have photos of your father, mother, don't have photos of your grandfather. And this is what a lot of colonial countries, sorry, I say it wrong. Colonized countries, happens. They don't have their own archive. It is an idiot that they have to pay to use the images. So what we did then symbolically, because I don't own it either, but we took the hard disk with the images and we donated in a very symbolic thing. Here, we return to you your own images and you can use them as free as they can. Of course, it is idiot that I, as a Dutch producer, have to produce the film. It is a Suriname producer and make their own story. And that's for Ghana the same thing. So I challenge Ghana, get back those images and make your own films.
Thank you for that challenge. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, thank you. They are here. They are here. They are here. Challenge accepted. Are there any questions or comments? Oh, I see one over there. Thank you so much, volunteer.
Good
I'm sorry, I
evening.
don't know
Thank
your
you
name.
so much. I have two questions. One is for those of us that came a bit later, how can we get access to watching the film? It sounds like an amazing film, really. And the other question is how difficult or how challenging was it to get access to the footage that you're referring to in the film? And was it put from one source or from a variety of sources?
About the accessibility of the film, I would leave that answer to Peter. The footage, we had the privilege to work with two of the institutions in the Netherlands who are the caretakers of these images. But like Peter says, it's kind of ridiculous actually that me, a maker from Suriname, where all this footage has been shot, should ask for permission from a Dutch institution to work with these images. And of course, it's not for free. You know, we got a good deal out of it. Peter can tell you more about it, maybe not. But it's really expensive to use archival footage, especially footage that we got from the United States. You know, it's really, really expensive. So that raises the question, who owns the material that has been shot in the original country? If I compare it to literature, for instance, we are at a literature festival, I believe when a book is 80 years old or 100 years old, it's given free. A lot of books, classics, are out there on the internet and you can download them and read them. It's not the case with archival footage, and I think it should be. But to answer your other question about where you can see the film, maybe we can...
Soon at the Surinamese embassy.
Right.
Well, but there is also an obligation for film producers. I say to my own colleagues, if you make a film, let's say in Ghana, you have to donate the film back to Ghana. It is a very simple thing. Why does everybody has this troubling with giving away rights? You know, we made the film, we found our funds. Why not giving the film to Ghana, to Suriname, to use it as it has to be used, in freedom and accessible for everybody? For me, even put it on the internet. I don't care. You know, sometimes it is needed that some films, who is not only made for entertainment also, but for awareness about identity, community, stories, we have to be open for this. Then practical questions, how to find... we have specialized archive image researchers. So as Tessa said, a lot of archive material you find at the big companies. They make promo films, you know. The mining companies wants to make a mining film. The wood, who had the wood trees getting down, that's of course a wood company. So once you know this, you know where to go. But it is a profession like a soundsman, like the one who does the interview, the one who writes. Image, yeah, they are build researchers, image researchers. Yeah, yeah.
Before you continue, I mean, no, you can take the mic if you want, but maybe you can also answer it. When you, with this assignment, those of us who are taking the assignment very seriously and want to go and get our archives back, who decides? Who do we have to talk to? Which tree do we have to shake?
Maybe because the lady over there had another question.
Yeah,
Where can she
watch the
see?
film?
Where can she watch the film? We are going to donate the film to the Surinamese embassy, and I think the Surinamese embassy can choose what they would like to do with the film. Maybe, you know, show it. You're welcome. You're most welcome. And there's a Dutch version you can see online, but most of you obviously do not speak Dutch. But for people who speak Dutch, there's a Dutch version you can see online. It's free online.
We, of course, we're also working on a new film. That's why we're also in Ghana. Because the next film is the book Tessa presented, Bonnie. And Bonnie is the story, the first freedom fighter who freed enslaved people. One of them, sorry, but we take this one. And the mother was born in Ghana. So the story starts in Ghana. So we are here to start off the production and research. And then, of course, we went to Judith, who had this lecture here, and said, how can you help us to give images? And therefore, you see that people from the work floor, they all like each other. They know what it is to make something. And together, people who have influence also have to make clear why it is so important to the ministries. So yeah, collaboration, 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 patient, 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 and hard work.
Actually, you've dropped a seed because someone mentioned that our Minister of Culture is in the house. Maybe someone of the festival can have this conversation with our minister on how we might get our archives back from the UK.
And
Maybe that's at that level that should happen.
It is. It is. A very good film in Ghana is made, The Eyes of Ghana. Yes, that's all about. And it is also at the Ministry of Information. So you need research, but do it in a serious way. But I think everybody will benefit from it, because this film, when we started, everybody said it's impossible. Now every Suriname embassy wants to have the film.
Well done. Tessa, I think our time is up. You have a question. Are there more questions? Nobody has told me, and no yellow shirt has said stop yet. So, and nobody looks too exhausted. No, there is the yellow shirt saying stop. One more question from the gentleman in front here. And then, if you want, you can find Tessa and Peter here, and you can continue the conversation. But
thank you very much. First of all, congratulations to Tessa and to Peter for this nice film. The question I have is a bit how you decide which part you color and why.
How do we decide which part to colorize?
To colorize, yes.
Well, it was all colorized.
Yeah.
The whole film is colorized. But of course, because of the material, some of the material was very old and damaged. The colors came out differently. Some scenes, they have a little bit more colors. Other scenes, they were a little bit more grayish, so I can understand your question. But it's all colorized. And that's a decision we made, to, like Peter said earlier, to not keep it in the past. But of course, the past has effect on now, and to colorize it is to draw the past into the present. That was the idea behind it. It's also very expensive, by the way, but I hope it worked.
And a very simple answer. This film, we started colorizing 4 years ago. Now we have AI. So the developments go so quick. Now, if I see it, I said, oh, we could have done better there, we could have done better there. But that's always. But there was one thing what was, let's say, artistical. We didn't want to colorize it just as it is. You have those old postcards. And it's an old way of doing that you have the ecoline, the inked. So you have those bright colors, and they are not realistic, They are the colors of the chair next to you. And so in the church, you see the girls, pink, blue, yellow. And we want them to make them like postcards. So that that was the artistic idea of Tessa.
Yeah.
And then suddenly something is happening. It is not like they are doing a very good job, but not like National Geographic, who just want to colorize it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, with that, yeah, no, I get, please go ahead. No, I
No, I just want to add, to complete the answer to your question, like Peter said, some details we colorized higher, the flag, for instance, the Dutch flag, because we want to stress it out,
Yeah.
from the beginning. It's ridiculous that people in the interior of Suriname, paddling in their canoes should carry the Dutch flag. I mean,
yeah.
it's ridiculous. So I really wanted to stress it out.
yeah.
Thank you for the question.
No, that's a really, that stood out. You did a good job because it definitely stood out. When I watched the film, I thought, my goodness, yeah, why this Dutch flag? But thank you. I hear more noise or people talking around, so that means that our time is up. I want to congratulate you both once again for a wonderful film. It's incredibly inspiring to me. I hope for the creators in the room, it's inspiring for you how you can insert your personal story into a historical story in an emotional way, not only in an activistic way, but also in a way that moves people, or maybe emotions are activistic ways. I mean, that's a different discussion altogether. We're ending, not starting, but we can continue a conversation. But I really appreciate what you are presenting in terms of how you can make and what you have made. I think it invites a lot of us into history because it's our story. It's stories of individuals put together that make history. And that's one of the things I enjoyed so much about watching your film and listening to the stories. I really also like the colorization and postcard idea that you're talking about because of... And that's where I have to run quickly and find who are the people who will make this happen for us. Because I think there are a lot of Ghana, like Suriname, Ghana also has a big story, a lot to contribute. And actually, if we hold hands, our stories are even huger. Because if you want to talk about the contribution to history, the invisible stories, these are not only stories of women, it's also the stories of people who have been oppressed, from whom things have been extracted for centuries. But I won't, like I said, we're ending the conversation, not starting it. So let's have drinks, let's enjoy them, and if you enjoy like sturdy conversations, let's do that. Let's do that in the break. And congratulations to both of you once again. Tessa, it's your film, so you get the last word.
Thank you. I would like to thank the festival, the organization, for inviting us to this beautiful, beautiful festival. I enjoyed myself a lot. Thank you for screening the film. Twice, actually. Yesterday there was another screening. Thanks to the sponsors, and especially to you, the audience, who witnessed this beautiful moment with me. Thanks again. Also to the ambassador. And my good friend, Kendrick Cairo, all the way from Suriname. Thank you all.
Okay, enjoy your evening. Wij gaan een film maken over de verhoudingen tussen... Ik werk met Sunny Berg, maar ik weet niet of jij...
Oh ja, Sunny hier.
Zij was hier gisteren.